How do ancient American depictions of bearded figures support the Book of Mormon?
The Book of Mormon tells of two groups who migrated from Israel to the New World around 600 BC. Is that right?
Correct. The family of Lehi, or the Nephites and Lamanites, and the group we refer to as Mulekites.
Then how come the native peoples of the New World don't look like ancient Israelites?
Well, how would you expect them to look?
Beards, for example. Native Americans aren't known for growing a lot of facial hair.
There are exceptions, but that's generally true. Since Columbus, most Native Americans aren't known for 5 o'clock shadows. An upside may be that they also aren't known for male pattern baldness, a genetic trait directly related to beard growing. Now for the mystery. Archaeologists have found hundreds, perhaps thousands of ancient paintings, carvings, and sculptures of bearded figures in this hemisphere.
But how is that possible if they can't grow thick?
Evidence suggests this wasn't always the case. Among ancient Israelites, beards were important culturally, and it would appear to be the same in the New World. For example, when Spanish ships arrived in the 1500s, the Emperor Moctezuma was terrified, not only by reports of the strange weapons, armor, and horses of Cortez and his soldiers, but by the fact that they wore full beards. All of these factors so filled Moctezuma with fright and indecision that it aided in the destruction of the Aztecs.
Wow! Is that because bearded images and icons represented gods?
Not always. Often these images appear to represent mortal, flesh and blood men. Kings, for example.
Then I don't get it. If beards were more common in earlier generations, how did they become so rare?
This is where the Book of Mormon gives us a plausible explanation. The Nephites, Lamanites, and Mulekites prospered and multiplied, but over the centuries they likely intermixed with other peoples and cultures.
Other peoples?
Nothing in the Book of Mormon says Lehi and his family found this place uninhabited. The Prophet Mormon compiled a lineage history of God's doings among his ancestors, but the volume repeatedly hints at other lineages. In one verse, Mormon calls himself a pure Nephite, which may suggest by his day such a pure bloodline wasn't all too common. During and after the battle at Cumorah around AD 385, much of the Nephite populace was hunted and killed. Interestingly, Mesoamerican artifacts depict people with beards as being enslaved and executed, suggesting some type of targeted ethnic cleansing. As a result, a trait like facial hair may have experienced what scientists call a genetic bottleneck. The ability to grow thick beards became increasingly rare until by the time of Columbus, the trait had almost disappeared. However, the cultural significance of beards as a status symbol lingered on. After about AD 500, many tribal leaders donned ceremonial fake beards to represent civil or spiritual authority.
So if there was a genetic change over time, that change might be reflected in their cultural images. What do we know about the time period when most bearded images were made? And in what region are the most bearded paintings and sculptures found?
Seeking those answers, 2 studies have been conducted. One in 1979 by Kirk Magleby, and one in 2008 by David Lee. As Garth Norman observed, although bearded figures date from all time periods, Magleby found that they were more frequent during Book of Mormon times before AD 300 and became relatively rare by Spanish contact times.
That seems to cover the question of when. What about the where?
Bearded images have been found as far north as the Baja Peninsula and as far south as Argentina, but the nexus or central point where most bearded murals, statues, stela, and pottery are found is the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in southern Mexico. Such discoveries are more and more rare as we move north or south from there.
Cool! So something like beards can help confirm the Book of Mormon. Not only when transoceanic migrations may have taken place, but also where most Book of Mormon events may have occurred.
And that is the evidence. You decide.